Hey people, Mike Martins here with the Mike Martins channel. Thanks for joining, liking, subscribing, and all that jazz. Well, what I got for you today? Well, the housing market is sure cooling down in the United States of America. And someone, again, sent me an email a few days back and says, Mike, can you kind of come back and tell us a little bit more about Amerifornia? Is it cooling down? Is it still running rampant? Is Amerifornia taking over America at that frantic pace like you discussed? Well, Amerifornia is starting to cool down in the housing market as middle-class people don't have money. As people mass exodus bigger cities to move to smaller suburbs and driving up the prices in other areas. Amerifornia basically is all of America turning into California. I live in California. California is just north of Amerifornia. And here in California, we are housing is severely unaffordable in all our major cities. People born and raised and educated in their own cities can't afford to even put a down payment in their homes. So this is a big problem that's happening across the United States of America. And it started to ramp up after the Biden selection. We told you, Amerifornia is here. Biden's selection will allow foreign investing money to be dumped on its shores and join the ranks of Australia, New Zealand, UK, Canada, at bringing in money onto its shores and exporting its homes. Because America's running out of exports. So what do? They jump on the same ship as the rest of the English-speaking countries. So what is going on here? Let's take a look at this, folks. And so we got this that came in from CW33 from Dallas, Texas, and it states here that this area in Texas is among the top 10 housing markets that are cooling off the most in 2022. So basically, there it is: Boise, Idaho, Phoenix, San Jose, blah, 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 Salt Lake City, Utah. But there's one here on CNBC where the top 10 cities where housing markets are cooling off the fastest in 2022. And Seattle, Washington is ranked number 1. Seattle, Northwest United States coast. Why? Well, the entire coast from Vancouver, BC, Canada, all the way down to Tijuana border has been sold out to foreign investing, and thus pushing people eastward. Wagons East. We've been talking about the Wagons East phenomena or effect here on this channel for years. So let's take a look at Seattle, Washington. This is kind of important because this is just a blueprint of what's going to happen to the rest of America. Look here. So there it is right there. Top 10 cities where housing markets are cooling the fastest. So this is from about a month ago. Reports Seattle's housing market cooling faster than any other U.S. cities. Than any other U.S. cities? I looked into it. They're not lying. Seattle's housing market is cooling off faster than any other city in the country, with home prices selling around 2% less in August than July, according to Redfin. Now, with interest rates going up, guys, this is not a good sign, because this is how it starts. But since early 2022, the interest rate on a 30-year mortgage has surged to nearly 7%. That's the key I wanted to take from that. Now, what happened? Why? Well, local people living in Seattle or in the state of Washington needed to get into their own housing markets. So how would they get people into their own housing markets if they can't even afford to get into them in the first place? Well, they have to artificially lower interest rates to dangerous levels. And I made a video calling it the Frankenstein rate monster that we created, this Frankenstein monster we created, that now we have no way of controlling it and where it goes and how and how it's going to affect middle-class societies across the United States of America. And this is why, I'm just calling it Amerifornia, because that's what they're pushing east. So let's look for. So, and it goes into differences in payments and how much your payment's going to go up. So, priced at $775,000, and this a house like this, a house you could buy in Alabama for $40,000. $775,000 principal interest payments on a mortgage earlier this year would have been $3,300. At today's rate, it's around $4,400. That's what I wanted to put out there, because it's very important how payments are going to start adjusting as they increase interest rates to curb against inflation. Now, let's connect the dots. What have we been saying about this? So don't say I haven't warned you guys. So I even highlighted a few little key points videos that we made on the channel. Seattle needs more Chinese. Park your money here. We'll blame the tech workers. Who remembers this? Who remembers when they were printing out Mandarin and Chinese real estate like pamphlets and brochures in Mandarin, Chinese, and Cantonese to get more investing in, because Washington State wanted to catch up to Vancouver. That $775,000 house I showed you guys there in Washington, that's like $2.6 million in Vancouver. We are at a point where the Canadians are going to be non-existent by 2025 here in Canada. So this is what's happening, and this is how the whole West Coast is pushing into East because of parked money. It slowed down during the Trump administration, but it picked back up with the Biden selection. Seattle housing crisis. Chinese buying dries up. Working middle class has mass exodus out of the state. So you get buying up, leaving, buying up, leaving. Chinese housing wave tsunami has hit Toronto and Seattle as Vancouver implements foreign buyers tax. So what happened? Vancouver implemented a foreign buyers tax 5 years ago plus, and it destroyed the Seattle and Toronto housing markets. Runoff of Chinese money. Seattle invaded by investors. Portland housing now unaffordable. 5 years ago. Chinese to take over Seattle housing market. Amerifornia is coming. Vancouver foreign buyers tax 4 years ago. So it goes on and on into specifics, and we've been talking about Amerifornia, war against the middle class. Amerifornia is going strong 1 year later, and is basically going into what's been happening with Amerifornia and how Amerifornia is America will turn into California. And this is something that we've been predicting here on the channel for years now. Now, this is going to be a very interesting rude awakening, like we've said many times on the channel. It's going to be a rude awakening. I took that from Ravishing Rick Rude, if you remember him. It's going to be an interesting rude awakening for many, many people, especially Americans, waking up to the fact that they've been had. That now, this is going to be very interesting because we've created this artificial Frankenstein rate monster. And we don't know what to do. Well, we're going to raise rates, but how do you raise rates without disenfranchising 80% of Americans, middle-class Americans, that have already left their major cities because they couldn't afford to live in them already? How do you fix that? What do you do? What's the remedy to that? Well, with the stroke of a pen, they could say, prove the money that you brought onto our shores. You got 3 months to prove. Do mail-outs to all the empty homes. America's struggling too, just like Canada, with empty homes, foreign invested home. Find out, has anyone lived there first? How long has it been since anyone's been at this property? Who owns, you know what I'm saying? Start taking the country back for its people. And for that, you need to actually put a government into place. But you can't even vote a government into place that's going to make a difference because that's all fixed. So we're at a point right now. Look at Brazil the other day. I'm getting all these people talking this, that. I speak Portuguese. So people are like, oh, Mike, this, that. Nobody voted for this guy, but he won. Same thing with Trudeau. When he called the snap, I said in Canada, they're going to call a snap election. Okay? At the height of the you-know-what. And he's going to win. And then people say, he won't call that. Were you crazy during a you-know-what? He will never call an election during a you-know-what. And 11 months later, he called it. And he won. And then we have 407,000 uncounted ballots somewhere in Ontario. Look it up. It's there. So that's what's happening. So we're at a point right now, even if we wanted to vote someone to fix this problem, we can't, because none of it is real. So they're basically ushering in our demise, right? So Seattle, housing is on the hook. For me, in my opinion, housing will be cooling down in America big time. Now that the floodgates are open, rates are going up. Foreign investing is drying up. China's put more capital locks down on its outflows as Xi Jinping announced himself as third-term emperor of China. So what's going to happen now is more and more people are wanting to get their money offshore, regardless of how they get it off, and park it into Western economies that are that are in a lot of trouble right now. Like, speaking of trouble, look, I got a little bit of time on this video. I don't want to take too much of your guys' time. My favorite is if you go, there's many cities we spoke about, but you go, watch this. You think I'm kidding? On our channel Time Machine, you type in Ireland. What have we been talking about? Ireland is dying. Gas lockdowns. Wait. Hold on. There's more. Investors are pushing out locals in Ireland. 9,846 homeless people in Ireland. Mass exodus. Ireland, no. Okay, Ireland, massive housing crisis, food prices, rentals, energy bills, massive brain drain 3 years ago. And this one that I said earlier, 4 years ago. So you see, Ireland was under attack by foreign investing and all that stuff. Mass exodus, Ireland youth, Ireland housing takeover, pushing talent out 4 years ago. Foreign investors forcing Irish middle class into homelessness. Ireland housing depression 4 years ago. Foreign investors going to Ireland, pricing out locals, leaving homes empty everywhere. Ireland, Northern Ireland is hot as Southern Islanders flee to the north for affordability. So Amerifornia is like it's Irifornia in Ireland, right? It's Irifornia. So you see how it's happening. You see how this is before the you know what. So they're gonna blame the you know what up the wazoo, right? And then they'll never blame bad spending habits on government bad spending habits and taking our private sector money and funneling into more garbage. They're not gonna admit to that. They're just gonna blame us and that we're carbon producers and we're producing carbon. Anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Hey, I had someone in the shop the other day from Atlanta, Georgia, and she was visiting, and I was telling her, hey, I used to go to Buckhead. I used to stay on Peachtree Street in in Atlanta. I used to drive down to Macon. I used to love going to Georgia. I'd visit it maybe twice a year. Georgia was my favorite state. And I'm like, and I asked her, is it still conservative? Is it still good? Is housing still affordable? She looked at me and said, it turned blue. I'm like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, oh no, that's great. And then her friend beside her says, oh, isn't this great? Weren't you excited when the state turned blue? I'm like, But housing is going to become unaffordable. So she's like, we need that in Atlanta. We need to get rid of some of the people in there, and then pushing them out into other areas is what these cities need. And the state turning blue is a good thing for us. And I'm looking at her like, really? Okay, well that's good, I guess, for you, but because maybe these people have plans in mind, or I'm willing to bet most of these people work for the government or a layer of government, right? They don't work for themselves, or they have, you know what I'm saying? I'm not judging it. I'm just saying, so that was someone that was happy that their state was turning blue. That there's somebody that was happy that they were living in a blue state now, Georgia, and very grateful that it's finally changed over and that housing is going to go up now. And she was comparing it to Vancouver. I'm not making this up. She bought a bunch of stuff here, talking to me for a bit with another girl, and she's like, yeah, hopefully it becomes like Vancouver. And then another friend goes, yeah, hopefully that happens too. And then I'm like, but you were telling me earlier that you have friends out of high school buying homes and starting their lives and moving out of their parents' home after high school, getting a job and buying a home, because you could do that in a lot of red states. Yeah, but that's going to change now. They're going to be fixing that soon. And wow, it's almost like, what's wrong with someone living? Anyways, I'm not gonna go into that. Everyone's opinion. Everyone has I guess a foresight on what they want to see happen in their area. I just see things turning blue. Bad thing across America, and it's gobbling up. And Amerifornia is real, but Seattle housing market is the one that you're gonna want to look out for going forward. Anyways, guys, Mike Martins here. I have spoken.